Imagine you are driving a car on an endless, empty highway. You locked the steering wheel straight ahead 40 years ago. You haven't touched the brakes. You haven't touched the gas. There is no wind. There is no road. Just nothing. Now imagine that suddenly, without you touching a thing, the car turns. It doesn't drift. It steers. It points itself toward a dark patch of the desert and stops, waiting. This isn't a hypothetical. This is happening right now, 15 billion meters from Earth. NASA says its Voyager 1 probe is sending usable information again. But the story they are telling the public is just the tip of the iceberg. For 46 years, Voyager 1 obeyed its design. Send data. Never turn. Never listen. Then, without warning, the antenna shifted. Something answered. Not from Earth and not from any known star, but from a patch of sky that should have been empty. What happened next wasn't just strange. It was impossible. Voyager 1 didn't just break. It made a choice. Or maybe something made the choice for it. Let's understand the machine at the center of this mystery. Voyager 1 is a relic, launched on September 5, 1977. It's a machine powered by roughly 800 watts of plutonium and equipped with a memory smaller than a single JPEG. It has no advanced AI and no sensors designed to scan for life. It was built to do one thing: leave. It raced past Jupiter and Saturn, crossed the heliopause in 2012, and entered the interstellar medium, the borderless, unnamed stretch of space beyond the sun's influence. Out there, the sun is just another pinprick of light. There's no solar wind strong enough to push it, and no nearby gravitational field controlling its direction. By all appearances, nothing should happen there. For over 40 years, it drifted in silence. It was the farthest object humans had ever touched, floating in the cosmic equivalent of a sensory deprivation tank. But on November 6, 2023, that silence didn't just break. It shattered. It started with a transmission that looked wrong. The data came back distorted, like a static-filled stream that didn't follow any known pattern. NASA engineers initially chalked it up to the usual suspects: cosmic radiation or degraded wiring. After all, it was a 46-year-old machine. But then Voyager's fault protection systems kicked in. These are emergency protocols designed for catastrophic failures, such as the spacecraft spinning uncontrollably. But here's the scary part. They engaged with no clear trigger. There was no command for mission control and no debris impact. Yet Voyager started acting as if it had been hit by something invisible. Telemetry logs became unreadable. Orientation records vanished, and onboard clocks drifted out of sync. This wasn't random data loss. It was something that reached deeper into the structure of the spacecraft itself. It reacted to an event it couldn't process, essentially screaming in panic at something we couldn't see. If the data was strange, the physical movement was even more impossible. Not long after the emergency systems fired, Voyager 1 did something it should never be able to do on its own. It turned. The spacecraft's high-gain antenna, which was mechanically designed to remain pointed toward Earth so it could phone home, shifted position, but it didn't realign with us. Instead, it aimed toward a patch of sky with nothing visible. Here is where the physics gets broken. The shift didn't involve the spacecraft's thrusters. There was no propulsion recorded and no jets firing. It was as if the orientation simply changed on its own. NASA ran every scenario: hacks, software bugs, solar pressure. But everything was ruled out. The onboard gyroscopes recorded a torque event, a physical rotation. A machine drifting through one of the quietest regions of space known to humanity had been pushed. It felt like a subtle, intentional adjustment, as if something out there understood Voyager's design and wanted to steer it. And where did it point? To a null zone, a theoretical pocket where gravitational forces cancel out, a place Voyager shouldn't even know exists. Once Voyager locked onto this null zone, it stopped acting like a confused robot and started acting like a receiver. The antenna stayed locked, and then the plasma wave subsystem picked up something new. It wasn't the chaotic static of deep space. It was a tone, a soft, steady hum holding at 30,000 hertz. Researchers called it the plasma melody because it pulsed with a consistent rhythm. Acoustic engineers analyzed the waveform and found mirrored structures and evenly spaced pauses. It moved like a melody written in numbers, but buried inside that hum was data. Impossible data. It wasn't temperature or velocity readings. It was hexadecimal strings, recursive formulas, and fractal symmetry. Some numbers matched astronomical constants, but with a precision Voyager's 1970s instruments couldn't possibly measure. It was as if the probe had been used as a vessel carrying someone else's data back to Earth. The signal came in clean, direct, and narrow, focused on Voyager 1 alone. It didn't spill over to other probes like Pioneer. Whatever sent this knew exactly where Voyager was and exactly when it would arrive. While Voyager was transmitting this impossible mathematical signal, scientists back on Earth didn't just sit there listening. They looked. They took ground-based observatories and aimed high-exposure infrared arrays at the exact empty patch of sky Voyager had turned to face. At first, there was nothing, just blackness, but they kept the shutter open, and weeks into the scan, the data began to bleed through. It wasn't a star, and it wasn't a galaxy. It was a glow, a faint, shimmering halo at the very edge of detection. But here is the creepy part. It was alive. The halo didn't stay still. It blinked. And it didn't just blink randomly. It responded to us. Researchers noticed that every time our sun emitted a solar flare, a burst of charged particles, the halo flickered back moments later. It wasn't a reflection. The timing was deliberate, following the solar rhythm like a dancer following a beat. We weren't just looking at a cloud of gas. We were looking at something that was watching our sun and responding to it. Then, just as the panic started to set in at NASA, Voyager 1 did the one thing a space probe should never do. It died. For 12 full hours, the signal flatlined. Total silence. For a machine that had survived solar storms and 46 years of radiation, this was unprecedented. It had never gone quiet like this. And then, snap, it came back.